beautiful souls, and welcome back to another episode of Channel Your Light on Your Intuitive. Ooh, baby, baby, it's a wild world. That's what's playing. I'm sure all of you have seen that out and about in the world. So I'm just touching base here just because of the craziness and the chaos and the wildness that is happening on the earth plane. The song, Baby, Baby, It's a Wild World, would probably be an understatement at this point. So I'm sure all of you have seen, whether it's on your personal levels, in your communities, or on the world stage and in other countries, a lot of a little unsteady, I guess you could say, energetics, frequencies, chaos. There's no other way to put it, chaos. So there's two things I wanted to touch on: the spiritual construction, spiritual reconstruction, or the construction zones in many of our lives that you may have noticed. Perhaps you've noticed it in your own life. Perhaps you've noticed it in people around you, noticing it everywhere you go, on the news, whatever it is that you follow. A woman used a term that I listened to not that long ago, and the term stuck out for me: spiritual construction, under construction. We're under construction. The collective is under construction. Each individual consciousness is under some type of construction. And that's not a message for everybody. So take it as it resonates. You'll know if that term is for you. So during this process and shift, we always think that, oh, we're going to the shift and everything is going to be wonderful. But in the midst of that shift, what also happens is all of the, I want to reference the earthquakes, and I also want to reference landslides. So earthquakes in reference to all of the earthquakes happening on the earth plane. Most of you know there's been approximately 1,200 earthquakes in the last 48 hours, if not more. Please don't quote me on the numbers. I don't know the exact numbers. I just knew that they were coming and they are significant. So Gaia is also undergoing construction. She is a construction zone as well. Things that do not work, fault lines, anywhere in the ocean pearls is what I'm hearing, anywhere in the ocean where there is splits, where there are things that need to happen, shift and change, that is all under construction. When we talk about the earth plane and when we talk about the different dynamics that are happening, because I want to start there for some reason, it's trust, says Ava. We want to start with Gaia and the different shifts and changes that she's experiencing. So it's important to understand, when you look at the foundation of anything, whether it's a building, whether it's a home, whether it's the foundations of us, but let's look at physical 3D foundation, she's saying, because the earth plane is really based on a physical 3D foundation, even though, yes, it's an electromagnetic field. Well, that's a whole other explanation, dynamic, I guess you could say. When one thing shifts at the core of the earth plane, or there's an explosion that happens that affects a fissures is what I'm hearing. There's fissures and cracks everywhere. It is inevitable when we have fissures and cracks in our foundations. When one thing shifts on this side of the world, in this small area, everything else on the earth plane has a shift. It's like the settling of the foundation. I'm seeing the foundation of a house. When you have a crack in a newly cemented foundation, so funny, I'm getting the reference of somebody's house being built on stilts, sitting in water right now. You will know if that reference is for you. It's like the water is rising and falling and rising and falling. And the house that is built on stilts can only last so long because they're wooden pegs. It's not a solid foundation on rock. There's also those that build their houses on sand. These are all metaphors, building the house on sand. The sand can wash away, the sand will erode away over time. Thus, too, the house will fall. It is the same for the house on stilts. The house will fall because of the different measures of the earth plane, the different storms it has to weather. Can it handle them? Is it built on a firm foundation? Is it able to withstand the shifts and moans and groans of the structure as the earth plane moves? Because all foundations of all houses that we have are literally built on the foundation of Gaia in some way, shape, or form. The question is, what did you build your house with? So this metaphor is significant because when we have one thing happen, a fissure and a crack or an explosion or a shift or change or something that's fallen away or changed in one small area of the world, This affects the electromagnetic field of Gaia, no matter how small. It has a massive ripple effect. So if something happens here, it is inevitably, says Ava, inevitably going to shift everything on the earth plane. Many people will not see the shifts. That's why you have after effects or afterquakes after a significant seismic activity or earthquake. This is why oftentimes it is measured by scientists. What is happening in that, I keep getting seismic activity, the seismic activity or the underpinnings, the waveforms. I'm seeing the graphs going off the charts right now. Um, it is coming, is what I am hearing. So it's interesting to note that. But the point here is when you have one small fissure or crack in the foundation, whether it's the core of Gaia, whether it's the mountains, whether it's the split in the ocean, it doesn't matter what it is. It affects everything, even if that effect is 5 months down the road or affects a creek on the other side of the world. It's because when you crack down, I'm being shown like the earth plane, I'm being shown the center electromagnetic field. I'm also being shown all the sediment that is built in and of around it, and all the spaces and pockets and holes where there is emptiness or what appears to be empty to the naked eye, I wish to say. When you have a crack or a fissure in one, it automatically splits into others, and there's a domino effect. It is inevitable that when one natural disaster happens on the earth plane, there is repercussions, there is an effect of that cause. So even though that caused the event, there was an effect that caused that, and so on and so on and so on, cause and effect over and over and over. It's a rippling effect, just as anything. For every cause, there is an effect. For every effect, there is a cause. That's what I'm hearing, which I feel like is a Hermetic principle. In this context of Gaia, it's inevitable that she's going to have massive construction zone changes that can negatively impact many of us. It will change the resource structure. It will change the continents. The world is swiftly and swiftly and fiercely changing. Some may view it from an energetic aspect where Gaia is releasing negative energy from different areas of the world. Sometimes the actual cause is a man-made effect of blowing something up. And that has a ripple effect as well that will affect everything else. No matter which way you cut it, when you have an event that is on the earth plane, such as those different natural disasters or bombings or earthquakes or anything like that, they all have an after effect. They all have a ripple effect, and sometimes it's not seen right away. It's time for Africa. This is very true for Africa in the coming months. December is what I'm hearing. I'm not quite clear on what the reference is. I'm just told to leave it at that. So Gaia is under construction, and so are all of us. So as the Earth's electromagnetic field changes and the frequency rises, back in the beginning of this year, one of the things that came through in one of the channels here on YouTube was in specific notes or regard to that the Schumann resonance was going to rise, and it would not be going back down to what we are used to. That's because the frequency has raised, and anything that is dense is changing form in order to, I'm hearing energetic entrainment, right? When you think about quantum physics or the facets of energy or how energy works, if Gaia's plane has shifted frequency into a higher state of frequency, a higher Schumann resonance, if that's how you measure it, that means that everything else has to acclimate to that as well. That means we're all going to have a shift and change in that as well. So is the water, so is nature, so is the structures, the mountains, the sands, the sediment, the rock, all of these different things are all going to be impacted, and potentially all in different ways. So as we go through Gaia's reconstruction or destruction for construction, you can look at it a multitude of different ways. There's also us here in our everyday lives personally, and I know a lot of people everywhere I go, everywhere I turn, everybody's got a lot of stuff happening right now in their lives. It's construction. They're like construction zones. If there is chaos or anything is out of order, that means it's under construction in order to get it back into alignment, to get the frequency aligned. You may find something that you felt that you dealt with a long time ago may come up to the surface, and you'll wonder where it came from. Perhaps it's something that you have felt for very deeply for a long time that maybe you never addressed. For a lot of you, it's a subconscious construction zone. A lot of things from your subconscious are coming up to your consciousness. This means ideations, concepts, root foundations that have actually been limiting you, epiphany after epiphany for some of you. It will be like lightning fast. We're under spiritual construction, and sometimes it feels uncomfortable. So, for example, I'm in this too, friends. I'm right here with you, is what I want to tell you. And although we are all experiencing different levels of construction, different levels of understandings, epiphanies, and growth, it doesn't matter whether you're on the 22nd step or whether you're on the third step. Every step is intrinsic to each individual's journey. And each individual's steps are going to be different because you have a different journey, because you've had a different life, because you have different belief systems, because your frequency, while you might be rock and rolling in a frequency over here in this area of your life, perhaps you're struggling in another area. Well, guess what? There's another soul on this planet who really flawlessly rolls and is rolling high with the frequency you're struggling with. And maybe they're struggling with the one that you have an ease and a flow with. So there's all these different things happening all at the same time. Oftentimes on this journey, I'm told to go back to the Hecate channel. So that channel with Hecate was actually came from our spiritual community. I know a lot of you put a note on there that you've heard other voices. I did have to cut a lot, an hour and a half almost out of that information channel just to protect the privacy because it was a group session. So the voices that you're hearing on there are some of the participants who were there for that channel. Hence, the information was channeled for them, but it's relevant for many people on the earth plane, depending on your journey. Place it where it fits. We had this experience, but then we have to go through the integration and unpacking it. What's the hidden meaning? What's the meaning that's in our face? Where is it leading us to? What label have we placed on something that perhaps maybe that label is no longer applicable? There's all these different dynamics when we're in spiritual construction. And it's a beautiful thing because it's actually a very clear marker of growth. Oftentimes in that discomfort or the uncomfortableness or the newness of it or doing something slightly different, it feels uncomfortable, but really it's a very clear indicator of growth happening in a subconscious level, in a conscious level. And that's why we kind of feel like we're shifting and changing and moving. So right now on the earth plane, many of us are being highlighted the things that don't work, anything digging out. And we've been doing this for a while, friends. Since 2020, I feel like we started the process then. Some of you started the process in 2012. Some of you started the process in 2006. I'm hearing for somebody, 2006 is a very specific year that has a lot of meaning for you. This message is specifically for you. Take it. If it resonates, that's not for everyone, clearly and obviously, so don't make it fit. If it doesn't, immediately ring a bell or sounds true to you, is what I wish to say. And being quoted a specific reference, some of us have to integrate and unpack. What does that mean? What am I actually being shown? What are the different facets? What are the lenses I'm donning? What are the perspectives I'm using? And how does it serve me? And maybe is it a limitation, a perception that is a limitation, and that is all. When we're under spiritual construction, some of you, you're going through extreme dark nights of the souls. So the difference, I'm being told, there's a difference between a dark night of the soul and a spiritual construction. Typically, spiritual construction happens after one has already gone through a journey or a process of a dark night of the soul. There is no one awakening for any one human consciousness. This is because there are many levels of awakening and there are many truths left to be uncovered. And as we move through an ascension process, each person's ascension process will be slightly different. There is no one way to do it. There is no one person that has every answer for you because you are a unique individual. So dark nights of the souls, you will notice there is a lot of people in a lot of dark and a lot of dark night of the soul right now. You will also notice there are those of us who are under spiritual construction. This means pulling out the last little bit of residue that was stuck in the corner there that you didn't quite see or didn't realize you still had within you. For some of you, it's like a construction of your beliefs. The universe, divine, creator, source, spirit, whatever you wish to call it, is taking your perception of this and they're picking you up and they're saying, let's look at another perspective over here. The answer or key, or rather something to help ease the path, is the willingness to let go. It's the willingness to say, I don't know. There's lots of times in my readings and sessions, friends, that I have to say, I don't know. And I'm not receiving an answer for that specific question. When we don't know something, there's somebody on here, you're like constantly wanting to know. It's like the art of letting go. The constant need to know is actually based in control and fear. If you feel that I have to know, or I have to do this, or it has to be this way, that's actually clinging to control of the feeling that if I know that, if I understand that, then I'm going to be safe. And then there's the other juxtaposition of this. It's not even a juxtaposition, to be honest. It's more like a different perspective, I guess one may call it or label it as. It's the facet where we're in the process of letting go, or we have an idea of how it's supposed to be, but perhaps the divine is like, it's not working because you have an idea of what it's supposed to be, but it's not supposed to be that. So we need to literally strip down the perceptions and the limitations of your experience or how you view it. Free your mind and the rest will follow, is what I'm hearing on that. It's like freeing your mind by letting go. The art of letting go is the statement that's coming through right now. So this is very important when it comes to finding peace in the chaos, particularly when we're under spiritual construction, particularly when we're pushing in the chrysalis, trying to get out of the chrysalis in that struggle that we have before we come out of it, before our wings step out and start to drip dry, because the butterfly doesn't just fly out of the chrysalis and, oh, it's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day and I can't stop myself from smiling. Someone has great joy on here, and I am glad that you do. It is a beautiful day when you perceive the day in beauty. That's just a side energy, apparently, or a message for somebody who's been listening to that song, has that feeling. It's more than a feeling. I'm being told that's a specific message for somebody on here that will be watching this channel. So if we go back to that feeling of getting out of the chrysalis and the butterfly doesn't just fly out. They actually stop and rest and have to dry their wings from the gook. Think about the birthing process. When the baby comes out of the womb and is birthed, it's got all this gook on it. It's kind of gross. Well, it's not gross to me, but a lot of people would view it as this kind of gross thing. The butterfly is the same thing. Look at the phoenix rising from the ashes. They got to sweep off all the soot, all the ash and the dust, all the tar from the experience, the evolution, the birthing or the rebirthing of the process. And that's kind of like what we're in. Some of us are just coming out of it and resting. Some of us are in the throes of construction, not really sure where they're going or what they're doing, feeling like all these other people are having these dark nights of the souls. This is a lot. There's a lot happening right now, energetically. There's a lot happening in our individual lives. There's a lot happening in our communities. There's a lot happening in the world right now. There's a lot of unsettled energy. What do we need when we have unsettled energy and when we feel like we're in chaos? Sometimes we need to roll with the chaos. Sometimes we need to roll with the unsettling because it's uprooting anything that doesn't work. It's bringing to light the things that are in darkness. It's illuminating that. It's a little unsteady. This is a message for somebody who feels a little unsteady, feeling like there's a lot of darkness, feeling like you're struggling with different things. And you are not alone. You are not alone, friends. Everywhere I turn, every session I have had, people are in a lot of this energy. One of the things and tools and understandings that came through in one of my group communities in regards to this, oftentimes those who seek peace is because they've been in chaos. That's why we're trying to go to peace. Sometimes people have to be in extreme chaos in order to recognize that they want to go towards peace. Sometimes people have to be in extreme darkness in order to find their light there. Sometimes things seem really, really wrong, but that's how it gets righted. And in the understanding of that sometimes things have to be wrong before they can be right. And I don't like to use wrong and right, but that's the label that I need to use to really, I'm seeing highlight it. Sometimes something has to be really wrong or feel really wrong in order for it to get righted, in order for the balance to be found. Sometimes we have to see where we were really wrong in order to rewrite our path, rewrite our perception, realign our energy, because we are all trying to find inner peace. This is my inner peace right here. My energy. If I wish my energy to be peace, I am only responsible for my energy to be in the state of peace. Oftentimes, what we do on the human plane, and I've done this myself, my friends, and sometimes I still catch myself doing this. I will look outside of me and say, if I can just get you in peace and you in peace, and if I can just get you sorted over here, and if you can just calm down over there, then I can be at peace and I can just relax. That's something we all do, right? If I can just get my kids to settle, then I can be at peace. And if I can just get that to work out at work, then I can be at peace. It's actually the opposite. Those things don't determine whether we're at peace. Only our inner sphere determines that. And that's the only thing that technically we have control of. In our efforts to create peace outside of us, we are giving away our inner peace to do it. We're doing the exact opposite of what we are trying to achieve or attain. So every time that I move outside of myself to try and make peace for somebody else because I feel like it's ruining my inner peace, it's me trying to make that other person in peace that is what's taking away from my peace and creating the imbalance and the chaos. So this is like a light bulb moment for somebody. We were raised, some of us, to always step outside and create peace outside of us, and only then can you have inner peace. When in truth, when I have inner peace and everyone around me is in chaos or not in peace, they're actually trying to find their way to alignment. And if you continually go and create the peace or do the thing that they need to do to create the stealing, right? It's like stealing a piece of their ability to stand up and find their alignment and find their strength. I am not saying don't help people. I'm simply offering a different perspective for those of you who are trying to control everything outside of you in order to maintain your peace, because that's why you're not in peace, because you're trying to maintain and control what's outside of you versus the only true thing that you can control, which is ourselves and our own energy and our thought forms and how we react. But react isn't the right word, because when we observe from that state, typically we're not reacting at that point, we're responding. There is a Hindu, Indian guru who never liked to be called a guru. And I always see his face, but I can never remember his name. And there's a shrine to him. I will look it up after this and I will pop it in the comments. When people engage with this man, he spent years in the mountains. Actually, somebody sent me this video. That's the only reason why I learned about this gentleman. The information that was contained in it that stuck out for me is related to this, my inner peace and not needing to control the peace of other people outside of me and fix things for them. In this documentary about this guru, basically, he went out into the mountains. He cultivated extreme personal power. His energy frequency was so strong and so powerful that when anyone came into his vicinity or stepped into the room as he sat there, he actually didn't like to speak. Some of you may know who this guru is. He did not like to be called a guru. He did not like that label. But when he sat there, all of the people said, he didn't like to speak. I don't need words to convey my frequency and the thoughts to you. I simply need to be and exist in my own energy. Because he had cultivated such a strength and a focus and a high frequency and a oneness, everybody else in the room, all the people who encountered him, all said the same thing, which was, we suddenly felt at peace and calm and had clarity. Not because he was trying to create peace or fix things outside of them, but because he was holding and maintaining his alignment with his frequency and his being. Simply by being, he was able to change the energetic frequency of anyone that came into contact with them, because their energies raised up to his. His was the dominant energy because it was such a high frequency. And Ava says many of you will be asked to really focus in on the self, ground your energy, focus on inner peace as a one piece of the collective consciousness. One, the word everyone, when everyone as a group comes together to ignite or be in the energy of peace, it's almost like we forgot that everyone is two separate words. Every one. So in that group of 200 people, let's say, there are 200 ones, and each one is responsible for their energy and their frequency. And then you bring them all together, which creates the everyone, which is an amplified energy of peace. That's not always easy to do. And when we're in our daily lives and we're experiencing all these dynamics of relationships, because we learn through relationships. Well, I do at least. I learn a lot through relationships. I learn a lot through my dynamics and interactions with other people, whether I'm observing from that standpoint, whether I'm witnessing, whether I'm guiding in intuitive sessions, or whether it's a personal relationship of my own. These are all opportunities to understand and to have deeper resonance, a deeper understanding of myself and my own energy, the dynamics that go into interdependence versus codependence. But that guru is really sticking out for me right now. The premise of the energy is, think about energy entrainment, right? When you have a dominant energy, like attracts like. What happens if the dominant energy of peace is so big that it does not require to fix anything for anyone outside of them? They're simply required to maintain that inner peace and that frequency and that focus and be who they are unequivocally and unapologetically. This in turn actually rolls out of their energy off into the people surrounding them, because people don't make great choices when they're in fear, when they're all up in their subconscious root beliefs or things that don't work. We tend to make decisions that are not rooted and grounded and sound because our emotions have taken over. And when I look back at my life, there's many times that's happened for me. It's been a process, right? To understand all of these different aspects. But this guru, I will definitely link it in the bottom. It's a documentary, and please do watch the documentary because it really speaks a lot for me, speaks to me rather, about the intrinsic nature of energy and our ability to hone our own energy, why we're called to cultivate our own energy, like our own inner journey, our own inner work. That's why some of you are in spiritual construction right now. We're literally pulling out anything that is not in alignment with your inner peace or your higher frequency, because we are meant to maintain our own energetic field without interference and without the overflow of emotions. Emotions are a beautiful, wonderful thing, but when they are unexpressed, when they are distorted, when they are attached to different labels and meanings, perceptions of deep unhealed wounds, we tend to make decisions from that unhealed wound. So like codependency, trying to make, if everybody else out here, if you can do this and you can do that, you're all at peace, then I can be at peace, is actually the opposite of the nature of energy in our own inner journey, and where you can ultimately find that peace or ground into it and maintain it. When people have a slight energy peace, it's like a soothing clarity that happens because that frequency has hit them. Things become clear. The distortions and the cloudiness begins to kind of be brushed away. When you're in a higher frequency, there is greater clarity because it's not packed and dense and all these other different dynamics, which is happening all over the world at this time. So cultivating inner peace is really what this channel or message is about, and then I'm called to share, particularly when we're in spiritual construction. In spiritual construction, we are always realigning to that which is of our true nature, or that which is underneath it all. And yes, that means uncomfortable stuff can come up. Some of you are feeling the frequencies of other people, whether you're an empath, you feel Gaia, you're intrinsically connected to Gaia, whether you sense on other people's internal state, whether you can sense their thoughts and emotions. those of you who experience those on a grander level, it's probably really, really important for you to ground and shield and protect your energy and consistently be clearing it, consistently remove anything that creates distortions or is a negative, dense energy. And you'll know when they show up because they're going to feel stronger than normal, not because they're stronger. It's actually because your energy is clearer. You feel and sense it stronger because your energy is that much clearer and at a higher frequency. So it seems more dense. Meanwhile, it was really always there in that same density. You just have a clear understanding of the feeling of it. Again, it's more than a feeling. That's the song that's coming through for that. And my voice feels hoarse right now in this section. So I feel like this is for somebody who is really struggling with the throat chakra. There are many different clearing things you can do. You can call in the light. You can use the transmuting violet flame. You can do meditations. You can do quantum healing codes. You can do the commands to remove anything. You can do the spiritual clearings. You can do so many things to clear your throat chakra. I'm hearing someone sing a cappella and sing through do, re, mi, fa, sol, do, re, mi, fa, sol, all through the scales. I'm hearing when you move through the scales, you are actually clearing the throat chakra. This is why Om, this is why sound frequencies, this is why speaking and singing can really open up the throat chakra. And that's part of the spiritual construction that's happening at this time. If you've had fear about something, that fear is going to be identified clearly so you can remove it, dismantle it, and it's not coming with you. If you have somewhere that you've been limiting yourself or really hesitating or feeling a really strong push and pull, maybe it's in your relationships, maybe it's in just going after your dreams and choosing what you want. It could be as simple as that. And yet it feels enormous. It feels enormous because we're highlighting it as a subconscious area that needs to come up and be removed so that you can continue on the trajectory of your momentum towards that which you wish to create. Your light, love, maybe it's a business, maybe it's a product, whatever it is, maybe it's to find true love. It doesn't really matter what it is. What matters is in spiritual construction, we're actually highlighting, identifying, and pulling up from the subconscious into the conscious to actually be transmuted and understood clearly so that you can move forward uninhibited from that thing. If we are always looking outside of us, like, I got to fix this and I got to fix that, we actually don't get to do the internal work because our focus is on outside of us, thinking that's what's going to give us the peace. Meanwhile, it's us cultivating the boundaries of our own peace that is the thing that creates the peace outside of us. We're giving away our peace in an attempt to create peace for others. I'm talking on the micro, individual, personal level scale, to be clear. I'm not talking about what's happening on the world stage. However, I do recognize that every single one, what you do in peace, ripples out to the consciousness and ripples out, creating more and more peace. When you see the drop of rain that goes into the water, you see the ripple that it happens on the surface of the water and underneath it. You can see that seaweed sway even at the bottom. Everything is affected by that single individual one drop. So my friends, I will leave that there with you. I am so grateful that you are here. It is always a privilege and an honor to be with you. It is a co-creation. That's what this is. It's a co-creation of all of our divine frequencies and energies and higher selves. So this is why I always say it is truly a privilege and an honor to be able to be here with all of you on this earth plane at this time. I am so grateful that you are here. You are doing amazing, even when you think you are not. And if stuff is coming up, let it come up and out of you so that you can actually identify, integrate, and understand it. Because we don't understand it when it's deep in our subconscious. But when it starts to come up, we begin to have epiphanies and understandings that relinquish the chains of limitations and perceptions and bindings. As always, if you wish to connect with me for a private intuitive reading or session, there is only a couple of spots left before we hit Christmas time, the end of December, and the new year. So if you feel like you would like to connect with your loved ones, your guides, your higher self, dive into your blueprint, connect with your starseed galactic family, please feel free to book your session in the video description box below. And as always, I am sending you much love, light, peace, healing, and transcendence. And don't forget, in the video description box below as well, I will put the documentary for that guru that explains his story and his journey. Until next time, beautiful souls.